but I can see that our dear Executive Secretary, National Coordinator of EITI in Nigeria, and the Chief Executive Officer of Neiti, Dr. Ojo Oji, has already logged in. Sir, you're welcome. I can see Dr. Dito Basi, the Director of Technical Services. I can see Jane Omumere. I can see that the external auditors, the independent auditors who conducted the audit have also logged in, and quite a host of others. I'll be recognizing us as this meeting proceeds. But meanwhile, I want us to please look at, I can see Ines. Ines Marquis from EITI Oslo, Norway is also online. Ines, you're welcome. But first of all, I want to take us through some ground rules that will guide this meeting so that we'll maximize the time that we have for this engagement. Number one, we should please switch off our phones or mute it to avoid distractions. The same thing goes for our microphones and videos. Please mute, except we're called upon to speak. We should also use the chat room to introduce ourselves. Just type in your name, organization, your designation, phone number, and email. We'll harvest that, and at least that will serve as a recognition that you're on this platform. And then if for any reason you want to see a cross-section of people who logged into this meeting, you can also go to the chat room and then maybe connect with your friends. Also carefully to cross-check your name and email to be sure they are correct. Some of us have spell checkers enabled on our tablets or phones. The presentations are for 20 minutes only, and I will stick strictly to time. I'll advise that we type our questions and share them on the chat room if possible. But if you must ask your question, you have maximum of 2 minutes to ask that question. After that, I will mute your microphone. Finally, we should be civil in our choice of words. We're not in a combat. This is supposed to be a constructive engagement. Thank you all, and once again, I want to thank you for joining us in this meeting. I welcome you on behalf of the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. I will, at this point, also want to run us through the agenda for this meeting. It's also on the screen. The agenda for this meeting, please. Well, we'll be having the ES very shortly give his opening remarks. That is Dr. Ojo Oji. After which we will have the Ines Marquis, the EITI Policy Director, sending her goodwill messages from Oslo, Norway. Then we'll be receiving goodwill messages from Sani Shehu, the Vice Chair of Native Companies Forum. And then Peter Ebule will be presenting the civil society and will be giving the goodwill message on behalf of the civil society. Peter Ebule is the coordinator of Publish What You Pay. After this, I will be handing over to Dr. Dito Basi, who will introduce the auditors and get them to present the industry audit, highlights of the industry audit report. We'll have our question and answer session. The report will be validated, and then we close. I promise we'll be spending no more than 2 hours for this meeting. And again, I'll reiterate, I will stick strictly to time. Please, I mentioned we should please mute our videos and microphones so that we don't drag down the internet. Please, the internet bandwidth. Please mute your microphones. I can see Mary Austin. Your video is on, please, ma'am. Thank you. Now, Nigeria is one of the 55 member countries implementing the EITI globally. Neiti, that's Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, believes that the management of Nigeria's natural resources will become more effective and credible when the operations of the sector are subjected to public scrutiny, participation, and oversight. To carry out this function, Neiti conducts annual audits of the sector. We reconcile the figures of what the companies paid to government and what government received from the companies. And then we'd also determine if the companies paid what they ought to pay and if government received what it ought to receive. So we go a step further to also look at the processes and procedures followed in executing the transactions and operations in the sector. At this meeting, we'll be looking at Neiti's recently concluded industry audit reports for the year 2019. And I'll very quickly, first of all, invite Dr. Ojobo Nayoji, the ES of Neiti, to formally welcome us to this meeting and set the tone for the rest of the deliberations that will be taking place on this platform. Dr. Oji, you have the platform, please. Dr. Oji.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning. I need to thank you all once again, multi-stakeholders made up of companies, government representatives, the civil society, and our colleagues, our team of international partners from the EITI Secretariat, led by Ines, and as well as the country manager of the EITI in Nigeria, newly appointed, Dr. Mike Ozegwe, who is also hooked on from Abuja here. I can see a lot of our partners publish what to pay, including our auditors and a team of civil society and state and non-state actors that are hooked on to this program. The exercise this morning is a peculiar one. This is actually in the 15 years of Neiti process in Nigeria. This is the first time we are taking this route to get our report released. But we are doing so because of the circumstances that are clearly global and clearly beyond our control. As you may be aware, the Neiti industry or the audit report was conducted Well, I'm sincerely sorry. I was told I'm off. I was off, so I don't know where I stopped. But I was just trying to recount. I said the route we are trying to take now has never happened before, and so many things were responsible. One, nobody ever envisaged that the world would be held hostage by a pandemic that have appeared to have defied solutions. Even right now in some Southeast, some parts of Asia, they are still battling for survival. The COVID-19 was disastrous and it obstructed our operations. And it slowed down government, slowed down actions, slowed down businesses and changed lives. So the route we are taking now is as a result of what we saw arising from COVID. The other one is what we are aware, as a result of COVID, governments, including that in Nigeria, have been trying to pick up the pieces since battling the COVID, trying to survive. And that has delayed the constitution of the Neiti National Stakeholders Working Group, the Neiti Board. And then this report is ready. Our 2020 report is almost ready. Will be released in May, between May and September. The solid minerals report will be ready latest by September. So we'll have a situation where we'll have two reports and none has been published simply because we do not have a board. So we went down memory lane to ask if there are soft landing procedures that could be followed for at least 2019 reports to be released so that Nigeria will not be held liable or in violation of any of the EITI standards, and also not to make sure that our data for national development is up to date. Stakeholders have been asking, where is 2019 report? And we say we have no board. We went down memory lane only to find out that we were actually under no restriction whatsoever under our laws to publish the report. We inquire from EITI and they say, yes, you can go ahead and publish the report, except and until the civil society, the companies, the governments, who are the multi-stakeholders, give an endorsement of the report, give their validation. We have shared the report. Here and from within and without. Those comments are part of what we're already analyzing and commenting. The companies have already signed off on this report. Each of the companies that participated in the report had already signed off. And then the EITI gave us, said, yes, you can go ahead and release the report. If we don't release the report, it will jeopardize our 2020 report. And this report is ready for release. And we looked at our laws. The Neiti Act, there is no way in the Neiti read, and I'm sure I lost you again. I'm sorry. I don't know where. Can anybody tell me where I stopped?
I think it was at the review of the
Hello?
Neiti Act. Mm-hmm.
Okay. We looked at the Neiti law. Internet connection. Well, we looked at the Neiti law, and the Neiti law was quite friendly. Allows us to release the report. Section 4, subsection 3 of the Neiti Act was very specific. And it says, upon the completion of an audit, the independent auditors shall submit the reports together with comments from extractive industry companies to Neiti, which shall cause same to be disseminated to National Assembly and the Auditor General of the Federation, and also ensure their publication. So that's all the law could say. And the law is very clear that we could go ahead and do what we intend to do. What is so important is the stakeholders' endorsement of the report, which is why we have convened this meeting. The feedback we've received from you from your review of the report were very incisive, very comprehensive. And our auditors, as we speak, have been working day and night to reflect them. The auditors will also make a presentation in the course of this meeting. We think this is worth doing, and we think stakeholders' ownership of our process is far more important than anything else. What we intend to do does not in any way replace the functions of the board. It strengthens it, because the board is just a group that represents your views, and the law is on our side. So that's why I've requested that all of you that are key stakeholders on this process should give us the go-ahead to publish the report, since it's in line with the EITI standard and is consistent with the requirements of Neiti Act, because delay will be much more a distraction to what we intend to do. So I welcome you to this important validation meeting and ask you to speak out. Your views have already been received. Those who have not made any comments, and if they wish to do so now, we will take note But the most important thing is that we all stand in unison to say that the report is good to go. And that's why we've invited this meeting. Let me thank Ines, who is leading our team from the international headquarters, our EITI headquarters in Oslo. She has been very, very supportive. And I thank the World Bank, Masami Kojima, who also reviewed the report and gave us a clean bill of health. She took some excuse that she couldn't join the meeting. And I would like to thank the OPTS, the Oil Producing Trade Section of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce, who he was transiting from Atlanta to Nigeria last night. Bumi, I don't know whether he has arrived, but he assured us that somebody from the OPTS will join the meeting. And again, I would like to thank my colleagues in the Neiti technical department. They are excellent team to work with. They did a very thorough job. I'm very proud of them. And I'm really very happy that they are all witnessing what's going on today. It's been very frustrating for them after doing a good job, and the report has been in the cooler all this while. I do think that in the course of this, the director technical we say one or two words, because this is a baby that they all nurtured from friction. Let me also use this opportunity to acknowledge the effort and the contribution of my immediate predecessor in office, the former executive secretary and the national coordinator of EITI in Nigeria, who I took over from just in February this year. It was under his tenure that this report was conducted. My job is just to continue to conclude what he has started. So to Waziri Adio, we're also grateful for his valued contributions and leadership of this process, and our auditors as well. I don't know why we're having this.
Try opening the phone. So even when you first start.
Hi, this is Ines from the EITI International Secretariat. I believe we've lost Dr. Orji. I'm happy to come in if someone from the Neiti team is online. Would you like me to make some brief remarks?
Yeah, Ines, please do. Thanks. Thank you, Ines.
Thank you very much, esteemed participants, and thank you, Dr. Orji and the Neiti Secretariat for the opportunity to make some brief remarks in this Neiti report validation meeting. I will turn off my camera to make sure that the connection remains stable. I would also like to commend Neiti and all stakeholders on the call for the efforts to produce the 2019 Neiti report in what has been a challenging year for everyone. The publication of the 2019 report will help ensure that there is a continued progress in improving the timeliness of EITI disclosures in Nigeria, while also introducing an innovative approach to stakeholder oversight and consultation on the 2019 report, provided that stakeholders on the call feel that their feedback is adequately reflected. Multi-stakeholder oversight of the reporting cycle remains a key pillar of the EITI process, and it also remains necessary for the government to commit to work with civil society and companies and establish a multi-stakeholder group to oversee the implementation of the EITI. The EITI International Board is monitoring the government's efforts to reconstitute the National Stakeholder Working Group, and we have urged the government to reconstitute this group as soon as possible to adhere to the EITI principles and requirements. We are also conscious that Neiti is making efforts to coordinate with the relevant stakeholders to make this happen as soon as possible. We have also encouraged Neiti to ensure that the multi-stakeholder group, once reconstituted, endorses the report by the deadline on the 31st of December 2021. In the meantime, we also recognize Neiti's efforts in consulting stakeholders on the 2019 report. Of course, the report has been in its final stages for a while, and having this report out in the public domain will make sure that there is timely information that can help inform public debate and be used by stakeholders. We do encourage stakeholders to scrutinize the findings of the report and to work with Neiti to ensure that recommendations are followed up and implemented, and to ensure that the Neiti process continues contributing to improved extractive sector governance. Improving the management of the oil, gas, and mining industry and maximizing revenues from the sector will be key to support Nigeria's post-COVID recovery and to ensure that the country is well placed to address the implications of the energy transition on its economy. Neiti, in partnership with other government actors, industry players, and civil society organizations, will, in our view, have a key role to play in continuing informing public debate on natural resource governance. And we believe that the publication of the 2019 report will be an important milestone. We also are really pleased to hear that efforts are already underway to prepare the 2020 report. As we know, to inform ongoing public debate, timely data is essential. So we wish you fruitful deliberations on the 2019 report. We do hope that stakeholders have an opportunity to feed into the report before it is published, and we look forward to seeing the final results. Thanks again, everyone, for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ines, for those kind words. And thank you, Dr. Oji, for the succinct presentation on why Neiti convened this meeting. I told us we're going to be right on time. We're going to move this engagement very, very fast. Neiti is a multi-stakeholder coalition of government, civil society, and companies. And so this meeting will not be complete if we don't hear from the civil society and a representative of the company. So I want to, I saw him online earlier on, Alhaji Sani Shehu. He's the vice chair of Neiti Companies Forum and the president of Miners Association of Nigeria. Alhaji Sani Shehu, if you are on, please, can you deliver your goodwill message?
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Congratulations, the new years. The official of the EITI and other colleagues, good afternoon. I am bringing solidarity and greetings from the Nigerian Company Forums. And I want to observe that the involvement of stakeholders in native processes actually authenticates whatever the outcome, of the result will be. So a validated report ensure authentication of information in the report, which can be used, for the development of the extractive industry. And that justifies your relevance. So we have no objection whatsoever for the publication of the reports. Indeed, we are in support of the publication. And we want to acknowledge the gorgeous work that you have done in the face of challenges, the COVID challenges, which the ES has highlighted. So on behalf of the company forum, we want to congratulate Neiti, and we want to urge stakeholders to really look at the report, critique it, make comment, so that it is going to be at the end a people's validated report. Unfortunately, I'm on the transit, and this is the little that I can contribute. But I want you to count on the cooperative of companies forum, whatever processes you are involved in. we will continue to support you to ensure a successful and all participated EITI processes in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Alhaji Sanishewu. I can understand and we appreciate the sacrifice you went through just to deliver this goodwill message. I spoke with him earlier on and he told me he was on his way from Jos to Abuja. So he had to pack to deliver this goodwill message. We appreciate you so much, sir. I want to also recognize that online we have Deborah Adeyemi from Dangote Cement, Mary Austin from Julius Berger, Sani Idris from Julius Berger, and our own Rolly Majiewe of the oil producing trade section. Rolly is the engine room behind this group. She does all the hard work, but we don't hear her purpose. Alexa, please mute your microphone. I also have Adeleye Osman from African Network for Environment and Economic Justice, ANIJ. I have Dorcas Igono from AIT Business Desk. I have Tuke Adoye, the Program Manager from Global Rights. And I will recognize quite a number of us as we continue with this engagement. So right now, I want to call on the representatives of the civil society, Mr. Peter Ebule. I can see him online. He's the National Coordinator of Publish What UK Nigeria. Mr. Peter, please, can you deliver a goodwill message on behalf of the civil society in Nigeria? Thank you. Mr. Peter Ebule, can you hear me? Okay, I think we shall continue when we are able to get him back online. He will still deliver a very short message to this meeting. So right now, I want to hand over to Dr. Dita Basi, Neiti's Director Technical Services, to take us through the process of the conduct of the audit. Hello. And then introduce, oh, thank God, Mr. Peter is online. So go ahead, Mr. Peter, you have the floor.
My apologies, I think the host disabled the unmute button for everyone, so I guess somebody rectified that on time. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for being here. May I first of all, on behalf of the civil society organization, appreciate the ES and the entire team of Neiti. In fact, when I saw the report, I was really impressed because despite the challenges, both the challenges with the COVID issue, hello, are you hearing me? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, sorry.
Yeah, okay. All right. So I was saying that I appreciate the entire team of Neiti, more especially the executive secretary, having been able to pull this together despite the challenges like we've all identified. And also I want to appreciate everybody that is attending this meeting for being here. It shows that Nigeria we are working together as a team, and all the stakeholders are willing to cooperate and work with the Neiti team to make this industry move forward, especially at this time that Nigeria is grappling with a lot of economic and financial challenges. Well, and also globally, the discussion around energy is shifting. So we have quite a lot of work to do within a short time. I understand the challenges, but my own appeal here is for us, beyond this report, beyond the publication of this report, for all the stakeholders to work together to follow up on the recommendations. Like I keep saying most times when we talk of this Neiti report, when we don't follow up with the recommendation, especially the identify remediation issues, it's as good as a document somewhere in a shelf. So the civil society organization is applauding, yes, applauding the Neiti team, and we're also committing to work with all the stakeholders to make sure that the recommendations are followed. I thank everybody for being at this meeting, and I feel that we all work together as a team beyond this presentation to also accomplish our first target and objective. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Ebule. I want to also continue to recognize some of us that were able to log on so that we can have an idea of the diverse stakeholders groups represented already at this engagement. I have Joy Iwabwe from Total. Thank you for logging in. And Joshua from Nigeria Ajib Oil Company, Zenith from Chevron, Tajuddin Adebakin from NNPC, and of course, Michael Uzigwe from the EIT International Secretariat, Kolawole Banwo from the Civil Society Cluster, Faith Nwadishi, Executive Director, Center for Transparency and Accountability, and Funke Adoe, Program Manager, Global Rights. I'll continue to recognize us as this meeting continues. So earlier on, I mentioned that at this point, I'll be handing over to Dr. Dita Basi. He's our Director of Technical Services. Oh, I can see Madam Lilian Ekanyang. She's Neiti's Director TUGA, that is the Technical Unit on Governance and Anti-Corruption Reforms. Madam, thank you for logging in. Juliet Alohan is on. Kayla Mewa of Channel is on. Thank you for logging in. So I'll move on now to invite Dr. Dita Basi, Neiti's Director of Technical Services, to take us through the process of the conduct of a typical Neiti audit, and then introduce the auditors that conducted this audit, and then get them to present highlights of the report we are validating today. Dr. Dita Basi, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Obi, and good morning to all. I will stand on the existing protocols. My name is Dita Basi. I'm the Director Technical, like Obi has introduced herself. We are very happy to have you here on this in this program. Like the ES had mentioned, this is a unique opportunity. This is something that we're doing out of the norm. This is the first time we're following this route for approvals of our reports. The report we are presented before you now is the 2019 industry audit covering both oil and gas and solid mineral. The terms of reference, the materiality document, and all other documents had been previously approved by the previous board. The auditors were selected based on the procurement process that we adopted. They're all indigenous companies. First, we sent out templates to the covered entities, which they fill. We also send out templates to government agencies. Like, you know, the EITI process is involving reconciling data from companies and government agencies. The terms of reference covered also the materiality had covered the payment streams that were required to be reconciled. So data sets were sent to both sets and data collected. As these data were collected, we had the data were validated, and then after the validation, against source documents, we had a reconciliation. For the oil and gas, we reconciled the data against revenues, data sets from DPR, FRS, and other government agencies. This was done in Lagos. For about 5 days, we had that validation exercise. And then for the solid minerals, the validation was conducted in 3 venues: Abuja, Lagos, and Port Harcourt, because of the spread of the sector. The data, after reconciliation, the initial reconciliation report was generated, and this was shared to the companies for comment, and they were signed off by both companies and government agencies during the reconciliation. Companies that were reconciled are those that were for solid minerals within the materiality threshold. The materiality threshold for the solid mineral we used was 3 million for royalty payments. The essence of using the royalty payment is the only sector-specific payments that you could ascribe to production for solid mineral. While for the oil and gas, all revenue streams were reconciled, and companies that had produced within the year were covered all covered. We then proceeded to produce the report and share it to the various to the government entities and the companies for their comments, and those were incorporated. We had shared this report to the various stakeholders here for their comments and observations, but we had to receive some comments which were going to be incorporated into the report. But we had not shared some of the comments that came in, had to reflect on observations that are within the appendixes, which we've not shared to most of the same because of it was very heavy material. But we hopefully share the appendices all so that the comprehensive report will be there for everyone to see. Like I said, my own is just to tell you how the audit process was done. And like the ES, I want to acknowledge my team here in technical and the ES for his support, and for the management and staff of Neiti for all their support. The two firms that had conducted this audit are all indigenous firms. We have the firms of Adedeji Adeshele that conducted the oil and gas audit, and Haruna Yahanko that conducted the solid mineral audit. Within now, it's my privilege and honor to please present to you the highlights of this report as presented. We'll first go with the oil and gas industry report, where I will invite Mr. Adeshele to give us an update or highlights of the findings of the 2019 oil and gas industry report. He's going to look at the highlights and share with us. After that, I will invite from Haruna Yahya & Co, Frank, to make a presentation on the 2019 solid mineral audit immediately after Adedeji's presentation. Thank you very much. So let me hand over now to Mr. Deji. Please, you have the floor. Thank you very much.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Dita. My name is Deji Adeshile. I represent Adeshile Adedeji & Co. We actually the appointed independent administrator for the oil and gas industry audit. Quickly, I will stand on the existing protocol, and then I would like to acknowledge my other partners on the assignment, Team Law, Michael Baron, Ladi Daudu, Engineer Okozu. We all worked tirelessly to make sure the report comes out fine, and acknowledge the support of all other stakeholders that contributed to the report. So quickly, I will run us through the highlights of the report. 2019 oil and gas industry audit. So in the slide, I have introduction. The second is the covered entities, materiality, revenue stream, then the highlights proper. The report, like I said, the report, this presentation is on the highlights. The report itself, it consists of 7 sections, which cover the background information, exploration, production, and export, revenue collection, allocation, and all of those. And another thing the report featured is the new areas covered under the 2019 EITI standards, such as the project level reporting, environmental and gender reporting. And the major objective of the audit is to produce the 2019 Neiti oil and gas industry audit in compliance with the Neiti Act, which the years have actually estrayed, and the 2019 EITI standard by virtue of Nigerian belonging to the implementing countries. Covered entities for the audit. We have 89 companies, 88 oil and gas companies, and the LLNG, which is the natural gas company. And out of the 89, we established that 82 made payments, including LLNG in 2019. Many 7 did not make payments because they were not in operation in the audited year. And that's for the companies. And for the government side, we covered 9 government entities consisting of ministry, departments, and agencies that directly collect revenue and participate in the industry, which are actually covered in the audit. So significantly, we, in addition to inclusive in the government entities was the Ministry of Environment, because that's the new area for the 2019 EITI standard. On the materiality part, which Dr. Tita actually said how we went about the materiality, it was established, 28 revenue streams was established, and which gave rise to total receipt of $34.218 billion. So out of the $34.218 billion that was established from for 2019, 98.03% was reconciled, while 1.97% was unilaterally disclosed. Then the revenue streams covered 23 revenue streams. 4 were unilaterally disclosed, and the 4 that were unilaterally disclosed were Nigerian Exports Supervision Scheme fee, withholding tax, pay as you hand, and miscellaneous income. These are the list of the companies that were, like we said, it's 9 companies covered in the reports, and why 7 did not make payment, and the reason for not making payment, all comprehensively stated in the full report.
You're out. Deji, we can't hear you. Well, it seems the presenter is off. Hello,
No,
moderator, please.
Your audio is breaking. The auditors too.
Just take over. The Deji is out.
Are you on there? Okay. Okay, sir. Adeshile, can you hear us? Okay. Meanwhile,
hello.
while you're trying.
Hello.
Okay, go ahead. I can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you. So, like I said, the government entities the audit established the flow, the revenue stream collected by each government entity, the receiving account and destination account, all are stated in the full report. This is just to show the process which revenues are collected and the type of revenue and the way account that one can actually track those accounts. Because one of the things for the audit we did in the audit process is to confirm those amounts in those various accounts. Then the highlight proper. So in 2019, the total receipt was established by the audit was $34.218 billion. So we tried to look at it from 2010 to 2019, and we established that, of course, when we compare 2018 and 2019, there was a marginal increase of 4.88%. But that does not shows a better picture, because if you compare what we received in 2019 to what we received in 2011, which was about the highest, about $68.442 billion. But of course, we benchmarking it against 2018 shows a marginal increase of 4.88%. Then the crude oil production in 2019 was 735.244 million barrels, as against what was produced in 2018, which was 701.101 million barrels. That gives a marginal increase of 4.87% increase. So the audit established the crude production along the production arrangements. That's joint venture, what joint venture contributed, what production sharing contract contributed, what service contract contributed, so risk, marginal fit, all in aggregate. And we try to compare it with the 2018 audit year. The 5-year trend of crude production in Nigeria, like I actually said, we compared 2015 to 2019, and it was established that The highest so far was in 2015, which recorded 776 million barrels compared to what we have in 2019. But of course, when we compare 2018 and 2019, there was a marginal increase from 701 million barrels to 735 million barrels. That's comparing 2018 and 2019. But this just showed a trend, and the trend along the production arrangements, PSC, SORIS, service contract, JV, and the marginal feeds. Then crude oil lifting. Crude oil lifting in 2019 was 735.66 million barrels compared to 701.090 million barrels in 2018. Of course, that actually led to a marginal increase of 4.93% from 2018 to 2019. So that's the breakdown of how the lifting were done. Lifting primarily is between NNPC on behalf of the federal government, the Federation, FIRS, DPR, and the company. That's the company and the NNPC lift crude, and NNPC lift on behalf of federal governments, the Federation, the FRS, and the DPR. Then this shows the 5-year trend of crude oil lifting in Nigeria. When we compare 2015 to 2019, it was recorded just like crude production. Crude lifting, crude production, the highest was in 2015 when we compare 2015 to 2019. The same thing with lifting too, because it's actually directly proportional. The lifting too, when we compare 2015 to 2019, the highest so far was in 2015. Of course, when we compare 2018 and 2019, 2019 is actually better than 2018 due to the marginal increase in crude production. Then the crude oil sales proceeds. We established that the total value of crude oil lifted by NNPC on behalf of the Federation, FIRS, DPR, third-party financing arrangement was 735.66 million barrels in 2019, and that gives a value of $17.441 billion. And this chart shows how the revenues are, like I said, NNPC doesn't lift on its own accord, it lifts on behalf of the Federation and FRS and other arrangements. So for Federation domestic crude oil, it was $7 billion. Federation export crude was $3.6 billion. FRS crude oil was $3.24 billion. Third-party project financing was $1.83 billion. Egina TMP trial marketing products was $1 billion, while DPR was $0.72 billion. So the details are contained in the full reports. It's just an highlight. Then the domestic crude sales proceeds at all. This is actually a breakdown where we try to compare how the domestic crude were distributed. In 2019, they were distributed along, shared between what we call the direct sales, direct purchases arrangement and the refinery deliveries. So in 2019, the domestic crude allocated was 107.239 million barrels as against 107.626 million barrels of 2018. But of course, it actually gave rise to a total receivables of $7 billion, like we've actually said in the previous slides. And this is how it was apportioned between direct sales, direct purchases, and the refinery deliveries as well, and the proceeds thereof. So this is how this slide shows. And in 2019 as well, we tried to look at how the domestic crude sales proceeds were utilized. We track all of those to the bank, like I said, CBN bank statement and other reports provided by NNPC and other stakeholders. $1.3 billion was tracked to the bank, while 546.38 billion naira was sales receivables. PMS under recovery was 518.07 billion naira. amount due and unpaid was 170.68 billion naira. Pipeline repairs and management costs was 126.66 billion naira. Then amount allocated to crude and product losses was 31.84 billion naira. So all of these details are in the full report. This is just an highlight of what how the domestic crude sales proceed was utilized in 2019. Then for the exports that we established a total export value of in 2019 to be $3.615 billion, and how it was structured, how the money were collected. $3.025 billion, which represented 83.68% was total receipts, cash receipts, which was deposited into JB Proceed dollar accounts in Zenith Bank, Access Bank, and First Bank of
Mr. Adeshile,
Yes?
Adeshile, your time is up. Sadly,
Okay.
your time is up. In fact, you've used up about 22 minutes.
Okay. Let me just try to.
You know, this is a virtual meeting. Attention spans win very, very easily. I want to also give Arun Ayahaya the opportunity to make his presentation. Meanwhile, I think what you should do is to share this presentation, and I will again ask all our participants who have logged on, so please go to the chat room and put down your name, your email address, and your phone number, and then the organization you work for. We will use that contact details to send you copies of this presentation, please. But
Okay,
Mr. Adeshile, I am sorry, I will have to. Okay,
that's fine.
all right.
Can you
Thanks
conclude?
for
Let him just
understanding.
conclude, Bobby.
Okay. Then I want
Let
to
me
use
just
this
conclude.
opportunity again to tell our media friends. I can see a lot of us online too. This report is not yet ready for release. We are only validating this report. We're also still gathering feedbacks and comments, which we're going to go back and reflect. And then we will announce the date for the public presentation or release of this report, which is going to be very, very soon. So please, if you were sent this link as a media person, please don't do a story on this report yet. Please. This meeting is just to adopt this report. We will formally release the report as is our custom to do by Neiti. Please, it's an appeal I'm making. And Mr. Ismaila A. Hassan asked a question on the chat room. He said, do we have any option for question and answer from the audience? The answer is yes. If you had logged in at the time I ran us through the program or agenda for this meeting, we have immediately after the presentations, we have the opportunity of asking questions, and then we'll have the auditors or the ES or the Director of Technical Services answer your questions. Then I also have this question from Mr. Paul Odokara. He said, I hope you will share the report with us. No. Not yet. We're still going to go back, reflect your comments, observations from this meeting, and then we'll formally release the report. When we're ready to release the report, because we have your contact details, you will get that report, the finalized Neiti industry audit reports comprising of the oil, gas, and solid minerals. You will get the report sent to you. But for now, this report will not be shared because it is still work in progress. So thank you. I want to, I don't know if Dr. Ditabasi is there. If he is not, I want to invite Mr. Haruna Yahaya, who conducted the solid minerals audit. So please present highlights of their report. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Let me talk to the firm of Haruna Yahaya. Please get a member of your team to be checking the chat room for promptings on your time.
Okay.
The remaining time. And on the dot of 20 minutes, I will mute your microphone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Franklin Olondaisi from Haruna Yahaya, Chartered Accountant. I stand on the existing protocol, and I'll be making presentation on the 2019 solid mineral audit. However, I'm not enabled to share my screen, so I don't know whether the host can give me permission to share the screen.
Okay, yes, we can. Mr. Shehu, can you share the presentation of on the solid minerals report, the highlights of the report? Shehu. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr.
Okay.
Mr. Haruna.
Thank you very much. Outline of the presentation. The presentation is divided into 7 sections. We have sections on background, on legal and institutional framework, mining operations in Nigeria, revenue collection, revenue allocation, and then social expenditure, and lastly, the outcome. Now, that was done background to the information. So under the background to the information, we are talking about the objectives of the assignment, which is to report on the volumes of minerals mined and also to analyze payment made by mining companies to the government and also identify and analyze received by the government. These are the basic informations that we tend to do as regards the objectives. Now, going to the next slide, we talk about NSWG approval. The materiality set for this report is 3 million naira, and 2018 also was 3 million naira. Now, basically, in 2019, a total of 702 companies made payments in 2019. However, working with the threshold set by the NWG, we found out that 74 companies met the materiality threshold. So we reported on 74 companies. Now, based on that, and the 74 companies covered a total of 89.126% of the total revenue accrued to the Federation in 2019. Going further, the report is structured into 7 parts. We talk about the background information. We talk about legal and institutional framework, highlights of mining operations in Nigeria, details of revenue collections, tax paid, revenue allocations, then economic and environmental issues. And lastly, we talk about the financial findings and other findings. Now, the annual report, this is the 10th annual report that is being produced, and it covers from 2000 and at the slide you can see, it covers from 2007 to 2019. So in the last 13 years, we have prepared 10 reports, and a total of 496 billion had accrued to the Federation during this period. Now, basically, I would love to look at what are the methodologies applied for this report. We ensure that to ensure that quality is being maintained, we have 5 approaches. We did a preliminary planning and documentation, financial flow analysis, physical production and export, and then reconciliation and validations of the discrepancies, and then we produce the final report. In data sourcing, we also ensure that everything that we do, whatever thing we do, ensure that we make sure that data quality was employed. And so all legal and regulatory frameworks on data quality assurance in Nigeria was used, using both the financial statement provided by the companies. We use a sign-off presentation, source document, which is mineral production reports were also used, tripartite reconciliation sign-off was used, evidence of payment from both companies and government were used to validate this work. These ensure that qualities were met. However, there were 6 companies that did not respond to this assignment. during this period. 6 companies were non-responsive, and they did not actually affect the quality of the report. And as a result of that, we are sure that this report met the EITI requirement in terms of quality. I go to the legal institutions, and because of our time, I'll be joining to section 2, which is legal and institutional framework. Now, basically, we have the slides. I think you could go further. I'm going to chapter 2 now, section 2. Now, institutional players. Institutional players, we have the federal government. 6 Federal Minister of Mines and Steels were involved, Federal Minister of Environment, Federal Minister of Finance, which is the CBN, and Revenue Mobilization were the key 6 agencies that were involved in this audit. And under the Minister of Mines and Steel, mine cadastrals and other departments were also involved in this assignment. Those were the key institutional, and various laws were being propagated towards guiding the operations in the solid mineral sector. Total, the next slide please, total issued licenses in 2020. We found out that from 2015 to 2019, a total of 636,360 licenses has been issued totally, making exploration has 2,767, followed closely by the other institutions. We have also mining, by the next slide, please. Now we have mineral buying centers in Nigeria. A total of 284 buying centers are operational across the federation. And the slides above shows you the distribution across the 6 political zones of the federation. The next slide, please. Now, during this year, beneficial ownership, a total of, out of the 68 companies that responded, out of the 74, 68 companies responded. And out of these 68 companies, 62 companies provided information on their beneficial ownership, which was used for validation to provide us details of their company. And out of that, 91% were compliant. Let's go to the next section, which is mining operations in Nigeria. In summary, the total production in 2019 in Nigeria is 59 million tons were produced of various degrees of minerals, and a total royalty of 2.5 billion was paid, which represents an increase of 29.4% over 2018 production of 46.7. This is the total production in 2019. Now we have the next slide talks about the trend analysis, 5-year trend analysis of production in 2019. We found out that in 2016, 5 years analysis shows that a total of 224 million tons were produced in the total of 5 years. And with the year 2019 being the highest of 59 million tons. The next slide, please. Now, basically, we have the next slide talks about mineral production, the various minerals that were produced in the federation, and which of them were actually produced. And we found that limestone constitute the highest produced minerals in the federation, followed closely by granites and then laterite. These were a summary of the various composition of different minerals produced in the federation, a total of 36 in numbers. The next slide, please. Now, we also talked about the various distribution of minerals, what was produced, which state had the highest production, and a look at the entire federation. Ogun State has the highest production of 18 million tons of various minerals, and then in the main report gives us disaggregated into the various constituents of these minerals that were produced, and then a royalty payment of 649 million were gone. So all the slides, the next 2 slides talks about the various minerals that were produced in that. So we talk about export by company. In 2019, a total of 61 companies exported 7 million tons of minerals valued at 2.5 FOB value of $2.5 million in 2019. These slides explain the various minerals. The next slide explains various minerals in the main report that was produced. The next slide, please. Now, when we now look at export of minerals types and destination, we found out that in 2019, a total of 19 countries, minerals produced in Nigeria was exported to 19 countries, and the values and productions remain constant. So we go to 5-year trend analysis, also shows that, let's go to slide section 4, revenue collection. 31 revenue streams were identified for this purpose, out of which we have the various 25 were reconciled, 6 were unilaterally reported, and that relates to those that were reported by environmental expenditure and those payments that go straight to the state government. The next slide, please. Now, the revenue flow. This is a summary of everything we have regarding revenue flow in 2019. So we found out that in 2019, FRS constitute the highest contributor to the Federation in the solid mineral by giving a total of 69 billion. We followed closely by Mining Inspectorate Department, which is royalty and other fees that are paid, which is 2.5 billion. Then followed by MCO, which are annuals and other payments, which constitute 2.5 billion. We also have state contributions, which has payee, grant rate, and all those things goes straight to state contributions in revenue generation. And Ministry of Environment has 17 million. These are a summary of the total revenue that accrued to the Federation. A total of 79 billion was received in 2019. The next slide, please. Now, reconciled and non-reconciled flows. Out of the 79 billion that was received in 2019, 72 were reconciled, 7 billion were not reconciled. Out of the 7 billion that was 7.4 billion that was not reconciled, 5 billions were attributed to the state, while government companies provided information regarding 5.4 billion, while government provided information regarding to 2.6 billion out of the unreconciled 7.4 billion. So the main report contains the details of those contribution. So let's just talk about the next slide, talks about 5 years analysis, trend analysis of revenue. A total of 304 billion accrued to the Federation over a period of 5 years, 2015, 16, 17, and 18. With 2017 giving us, 2019 giving the highest contribution of 7.9. However, with a marginal increase of 7.74 over 2018 contribution of 69. The details, the next slide talks about Ministry of Mines and Steel Development, the total revenue accrued to them in 2019. The next slide, please. The next slide talks about royalty payment. Over the years, in 5-year trend analysis of royalty payment, whereby we realize that in 2019, we have 2.5, an increase of 13.21 over what was realized in 2018, which was 2.2 billion. So we found out that in 2018, we have, so the next slide talks about for materiality companies that responded, these are the revenue flows that are close to them. The next slide, please. Now, the next slide talks about government company distributions of royalty. We can go to chapter 5, which talks about revenue allocation in 2019. Chapter 5, revenue allocation in 2019. Now, this chapter talks about the distribution of derivation of base transfer. Up in 2019, a total of 8.8 billion accrued to the solid mineral revenue account, which were distributed across the 3 levels of government, the federal government, state government, local government, and 13% derivation. Now, the percentage, the federal government collected a total of 4 billion, representing 45.83%, while state government collected 23.25%, which is 2.065 billion. Local government had 17.92%, which stands at 1.592 billion. While 13% derivation is 13% of the total amount that accrued to the Federation, accrued to those domiciled, where the minerals is domiciled, they have 1.1 billion to share among themselves. The next slide, please. We talk about solid mineral trend analysis over the 5 years and contributions of the solid mineral sector to export. We found out that solid mineral export contributed a total of 0.543% over the last 5 years. In 2019, it contributed 0.51% of the total export in the Federation, which is 24 trillion, as against 124 trillion social expenditure. Now, environmental expenditure in 2019 was 17.5 billion, and a total of 10 companies provided information regarding their expenditure, while other companies. So it's probably that more companies would have provided made social expenditure, because it is the first time we are reporting on social expenditure, environmental expenditure. That could have been the reason why we didn't have. And I believe in the next audit, more companies will be responding. The next slide talks about employment data. Now, a total of, out of the 74 companies, a total of 63 provided information, which represent 85%. Local employment accounted for 54% of the total employment in 2019. Nationals accounted for 39.9%, while the rest is 5.1%. We were expatriate. A proportion of male and female, when we look at it based on gender, the solid mineral sector is dominated by male, which gives us a 93.2% as against 6.8%, which stands for the female constituent of the entire population. So we found out with no females employed. So we found out that 11 companies have no female employees in their distribution based on the populated template they returned to us in 2019. However, 0.1% are physically challenged that were employed in 2029. The next slide, please. Outcomes and impact. Now, this talks about our current findings, the companies that provided underpayment in 2019. These can be found, details of those companies. The appendices here refer to the details in the main report. There has no evidence of payment of royalties as a result of the export. We have a total of 482 million that is yet not provided for, that is approved to those companies. The next slide, please. No payment of taxes. We saw that some of these companies did not pay tax in 2019, which are AAY, Affin Construction, Afsad Quarry, First Patriot, Prozi, Kunlung, Nigeria Limited, Rock Waters Integrated. These, we have no evidence of their payment. Now, we found out that some companies also have multiple TIN numbers. They are also reported in the report. The next slide, please. The next slide, please. Now, non-regularization of transfer. We found in the course of the audit, we discovered an entity that did not regularize. Yes, it has been transferred, but the regularization has not been effected with MCO. The next slide, please. Lack of effective monitoring and supervision. We found out that there are the audit come across incidents of illegal mining activities. As we all know, the sectors is dominated by artisanal miners also, who also carry out illegal activities, and some of them, in the course of the field work, we discover some sites where activities of mining activities goes on unabated. The next slide, please. Access to funds. Now, in the course of the audit, through interview and interactions with other major players, we discovered that access to funds to develop the sector had been a major challenge, despite government providing that. And some of the solutions were to have a mining bank that would be able to provide that. Non-implementation of environmental protection rehabilitation fund. We found out that this fund, yes, the act requires that this fund comes into play. However, up to now, it has not fully taken effect. The next slide, please. Non-standardization of mining classification. We also record that customs, different various information, customs information varies from CBN's information, varies from Ministry of Mines information. There's a need to streamline that so that information could be harnessed and could be the same thing. So we found out that these information are variants to each other. The last slide, please. Now, development of strategic minerals. Yes, government is taking effort. We found that gold has taken, in last year, the gold has taken a major step, the government took major step in development of gold in Nigeria. That could be extended to other minerals like lead and zinc and limestones and granite, which constitute majorly what has been. So that is it, okay. And lastly, thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the team of Haruna Yahaya, for that very, very straight to the point presentation on the highlights of the solid minerals audit. I want to recognize one or two more people before we go into the question and answer session. I can see Mr. Oke Epia of Other Paper online, Taiwo Otitolaye of Kodwa, Paul Ogu, Publish What to Pay Nigeria, Rita Okeze of Adeshile, Saad Balarabi, Deputy Director, Neiti, Michael Lincoln of the Youth Forum on the EITI, Akinwumi Adeoshun from Total, and Paul Odokara from ANIJ. At this point, we are going to the question and answer session. Now, if you look at your screen, the lower end of your screen, you will see a reactions button. If you want to ask a question, just click on the raise your hand button there, and it will indicate on the participants platform. And then I will call on you to ask your question. Remember our ground rules earlier on. If possible, please type in your questions and read them. It will make it faster. But if you must ask your question, you have no more than 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, if you are still giving us background to your question, I will mute your microphone, please. So question and answer session. Who is going to take the first shot? Any questions? Hello, can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
We're hearing you. But I
Please,
just,
any questions?
Yeah.
Any questions? Meanwhile, remember what I said before, the appeal I made earlier on. This report, this meeting is to validate this report, so it's not yet finalized. The contents are ready, but we're still incorporating feedbacks and comments. And so once we're done with that, we'll announce the date for the formal release of this report. So this report is not for public dissemination yet. Please, we need to emphasize this. It's not for public consumption yet. When we're ready to make it public, we will announce that and we'll disseminate that. I'm told that Mujana Tugamawa has logged in. She has a question to ask. Muja? Oh, Dorcas Igono, sorry. Dorcas, you have the floor, please. Unmute your microphone, thank you.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The last presentation mentioned that some companies did not respond when they were sent listing. I don't know if the main report is going to include their names so that we know who and who cooperated and who did not. My question is to the last speaker on the solid minerals. He said some companies did not respond. Hello?
Dorcas, I can hear you, thank you. I put in your question. You wanted to know if the names of the companies that did not respond to the audit request will be published in the final report. That's as it
Yes.
concerns the solid minerals report. Yes, I got it loud
Yes.
and clear. Okay. Any more questions before I pass on the questions to the applicable responders? Any more questions? The team of Haruna Yahaya, can you respond to that question?
Yes, the main report contains the names of those that did not respond and possibly stating what they should have contributed for the period. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So any more questions? More hands? Okay, so I will, at this point, Dr. Oji, can you unmute your microphone? Can you hear me? Dr. Oji, can you unmute your microphone?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Yes,
Do you
I
have
can.
anything? We are going to the next.
Yes, I can hear you, Obi.
Okay, sir. We are going to the next part of those reports.
Hello?
But I don't know if you have anything to say before we move on to the validation of the report. Do you have anything to say?
Can hear you. Oh,
Okay.
I'm losing you.
Dr. Gitabasi. Dr. Gitabasi, do you have anything to say? Any comments before we move on to the next activity?
This moment, I assume that we have all listened to the presentations, which may not really be hello, Obi?
Okay, I can hear you, sir. Go ahead.
Hello?
I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, I would like to say that we have all gone through the key highlights of the report, which were earlier shared and widely circulated to many of us on this platform. And we have received comments. I want to agree that the time for 10 minutes given for each of the auditors will not really be enough for anybody who has not gone through the report to see the detailed work that was done to make it. So that was why we shared the report about 7 days. And a lot of comments have already come in. So at this moment, what might be very necessary for us is to seek for endorsement of the report by all the participants. I think that should be the very important stage at this moment. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Dita Bassi, do you have any comments? Okay, so
yes, I've spoken. You can't speak after the yes.
Okay, so you've all heard from the Executive Secretary of Neiti. We are moving to the next item on the agenda, which is to validate the report in which highlights you've all listened to. Actually, we gave the auditors 20 minutes and not 10 minutes. And even at that, I know that's not enough time to do justice to a work that took close to 10 months to produce. So how do we proceed? I want to invite Ms. Faith Nwadishi. Are you still on? Can you unmute your microphone? I can see a hand up, Paul Odokara. Okay, Mr. Paul Odokara, you have the floor. But please, if Ms. Faith Nwadishi is still on, I'm trying to track her. Mr. Paul. If you have any comments, unmute your microphone. You have the floor.
Hello. Oh, hello. Hello.
Go ahead. I can hear
okay.
you.
Yeah, I would have. Dr. Oji said he shared the earlier version before. I would have been able to ask a question if I had seen the report actually before.
Okay, Mr. Odakara, sorry, I know that basically we shared the report to Annie. That report was shared since last week to David, to David Ogolo, your executive director, and he acknowledged receipt of the report, and we gave enough time for our stakeholders to go through that report and make their views. We've collected many of the comments and observations and contributions to the report. We are reflecting those contributions. And so if you didn't get to read the report, well, you have an opportunity now. You can still read and send us your comments. But of course, we cannot wait in perpetuity. So by the end of this week, we're rounding up work on the report. I can see Faith Wadishi is on now. Faith, we want to go to the validation of the report, and I want you to handle this aspect. As a member of the EITI board, former EITI board, as a former chair of the Neiti Civil Society Steering Committee member, I thought of no other person but that would, moderate this session but you. So I'm going to hand the floor over to you to conduct the validation of this report. How do you want us to proceed? Are we going to do by show of hands because it's virtual? What do we do? Thank you. I can see your beautiful face on.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone, and congratulations to Nigeria for this report. I'm truly excited that this has come up, and we are doing this. Congratulations to the Executive Secretary and his team. Kudos to everyone. So quickly, let me say thank you for giving me the opportunity to moderate this session. So I will just ask that participants will raise their hands. We'll call them once we see that you have your hands raised, we'll call you and identify you to make your comments. Hello, anyone? I can't see any hands raised. Did you hear me?
We can hear you, ma.
Yes, we did, ma. Yes, we did.
Okay, please. So let's do this quickly, because I remember during the session when Madam Obi called somebody's attention to the issue of time. It's very important that stakeholders validate this report, because it's actually a stakeholders report as captured by the Executive Secretary's opening comments and remarks. The civil society most especially should look at this report and let's validate the report. The report was earlier sent out to persons, and we just had a review.
Ms. Madishi.
Yes, please.
Ms. Madishi.
Yes.
There's a suggestion by Mr. Taiwo Otitolaye of Kodwa. He's also a member of the civil society, and he's saying, apart from showing of hands, let people type and consent to the validation.
Exactly.
So I think that's okay. That's up. So if you don't know where to click your raise your hand button, that would be an issue really. Then just type on the chat platform and say consent to the validation of the report, or I validate the report, or I consent. Just 2 words.
Okay, can I just add a little to that?
You.
Please, in validating, please put your name, your organization, and your stakeholder group. It helps for collation. So if you're not raising your hands, if you raise your hand to speak, you just state your name, your organization, and your stakeholder group. Is either your government MTA or your company or your civil society. Thank you, Austin, Mary Austin of Julius Berger. Thank you so much for the validation. That's from the company side. Media, Dorcas, thank you so much. Can we have other validations? I see that we have 63 participants on this call. We have 63 participants on this call, and we have had two consents.
Akinwumi Adebakin. Ms. Faith, Akinwumi Adebakin has raised his hand, consent. Michael Lincoln has raised his hand.
Okay,
he
great.
Has consented.
Okay. Akinwumi Adeosun, please, can we hear you?
Mr. Peter Ebule has consented. Dorcas Igono.
Yes. Okay, Akinwumi has gone down. So Taiwo, please, can you go ahead?
Well, I, Taiwo Tolaye of Community Outreach for Development and Welfare Advocacy, having gone through the report, I've seen that the report captured a quite number of issues and is of high quality by my own opinion. So I hereby validate the report. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Taiwo. Thank you. Lincoln, are you still there? Lincoln, your hand is up. Are you still there? Go ahead. Can you hear me? Is Lincoln with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Okay. I, Michael Lincoln, haven't gone through the report. Do wish to, on behalf of the Youth Forum on EITI, consent to validate the report.
Thank you, Lincoln. Lincoln has just validated the report on behalf of the Youth Group on EITI. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Obamiro Henry has also consented. Mr. Henry, can you please type in the name of your organization, please?
Is Mr. Obamiro Henry Civil Society?
Then Tajuddin Adebaki of NNPC. We have other paper. Okay, EPIA, Civil Society. Yes. Okay, Obamiro Henry says it's from the Civil Society.
Okay, Bamiro is Civil Society.
Yes.
Civil Society. Do we have other MDAs on this call?
NNPC has consented.
Yes,
Idris of Julius Berger companies have consented.
I've seen NNPC and Julius Berger. Do we have OPTS?
Yeah.
Please, can you go ahead?
He's on transit, and then Rolly had to leave at some point for a meeting. She's representing Mr. Toyobo, the chair of the Native Companies Forum and OPTS.
So we assume that by their participation, they have also validated this report, because I heard Mr. Sanishew's earlier remarks when he made the goodwill, when he gave the goodwill message. And in that goodwill message, he actually said they were very happy with the output, and told us it was on transit. So do we have any other MDA on the report? Maybe we'll just get one more from an MDA.
Adeleye Utma from ANIJ.
No, ANIJ is Civil Society.
Adeleye Utma from ANIJ.
is civil society.
Yeah. Okay,
We have more
Taiwo
civil society.
Otolaye is said,
I think we have
commented on
the
the chat form. He said Sani Shehu in his goodwill message has consented. So he's just collaborating what you
Yes.
just said.
Exactly. So do we take NNPC's consent as part of an MDA? I'll put them on their company though, but they're also like MDA. Dr. Dita,
state MDA. I think we can do.
they're still MDA,
I think it's
right?
a state government.
Okay,
It's a state.
so
yeah.
It's a national company, so it's actually a state representative. Yes, and okay, we also know that from the executive secretary's earlier remarks, his opening remarks, he said the companies has signed off on the report. Signing off on the report is also an aspect of validating the content of the report. Yes, so the signatures from the companies can also be presented here as part of the validation process from both the companies and the MDAs that were part of this process. So I don't want us to take too much time, so we don't make this process too boring. I want to thank the Neiti team again, especially the executive secretary and his team, for the opportunity to facilitate this session, and also say that on behalf of myself and my organization, we validate this report. Kudos to Nigeria for having presented the 2019 report, but also to reiterate again the need for, I think you, Obi, told media that this report has not been formally presented, so media will not report on this. But following this program, we need to also call on the president to, as quickly as possible, reconstitute the board of Neiti so that we can win on all sides of what we are doing. Kudos, great work. This kind of thing can only come when you have a round peg in a round hole. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you, colleagues, for being part of this validation meeting. I'll sign off now. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Faith. We have validation from the companies, we have from the government side, and then we'll have from the civil society. Before I end this meeting, I want to again invite Dr. Oji to say thank you to all the participants who have spent close to 2 hours. I promised us 2 hours. We are yet to be 1 hour, 45 minutes. So we are right on time. Dr. Oji, please say a great thank you to our guests, to our participants, and then we'll close this meeting. Thank you very much. Dr. Oji? Okay. So I want to thank us all for allowing Neiti drag you away from your very busy schedules. We hope that your time spent here with us has been worth it. We'll be announcing the date for the formal release of the report very soon, possibly before the end of the week. Thank you so much for your support towards the implementation of the EITI always. I can see Dr. Oji is on now. We wanted you to say a few words, sir, as we end this meeting.
Well, it's to, thank you very much, is to once again thank all the participants, the international EITI, and members of the civil society, companies, and government officials, especially our covered entities that have signed on to this platform and given us this validation. We
Dr. Oji, are you there? Hello? Okay, sadly, we're having internet problems and the meeting is closed. We hope your time was well spent. Thank you for your support always. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
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 Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Mr. Dokarapo, bye-bye. Hello to
Bye.
Mr. David Okolo.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Yes, Anich. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. It's still